welcome back to another tutorial for Viacom. So what we're looking at today specifically is the use of the F10 other menu and Viacom. In this case, we're going to be looking at Airboss. It's a pretty widely used script. I've always wanted to be able to control Airboss via voice rather than having to use the mouse and the F10 menu or assign keystrokes and things like that. So I did a bit of thinking, and Viacom had an existing F10 menu import function, and it put those items into a database. And then it appended the word action in front of them, and if you used action and then the name of the command, you could call them. Now, it was sort of a little bit hit and miss, and it's dynamic, so it every time you press the talk switch, it checks what the commands are in the F10 menu. Now, for really simple scripts, that worked just fine, but using the word action wasn't that great or immersive. So I was looking at other ways we could use it. So what I've ended up doing is assigning a set of predefined keywords that will sit in the database, the keywords database, and they'll be dynamically matched with entries that are detected during the normal import F10 menu function that Viacom executes. And that way, commands for Airboss can be known, practiced. You don't have to use the word action. And more importantly, you don't have to add them to your profile because they're already existing keywords. So to get your head around all of that, I've got Vaicom running here at the moment. And I've got the Vaicom UI open. And the most important thing, if you want to use this function, is you have to come into preferences and make sure you have the import F10 menu checked. That's what it says. Collect F10 menu commands, updates database. So it will do that live, and whatever script you've got in there, it'll look through that menu every time you press the talk switch and have a look and see what's there. So that helps manage things with scripts that have different menu trees depending on different times in the mission or different configurations of runways, etc., etc. So importantly though, once that's select, we've authorized a tick. Check those items and we can use them. But what I've done now, if we look in the editor, I've added certain items for Moose Airboss and Moose AWACS and also Moose Functional Range. So they're the only three ones I've added for the Moose series at the moment. I'll probably add more. It's just a matter of time. It just happens to be the ones that I use. So I've got one up here at the moment. It's a command that sits in the database. It's mother comms check. It's got another alias, which is Airboss mother comms check. So you can see the category is null and the segment's null. So if you look at another command in the database, like let's look at, say, one of the airports, so Akrotiri will do, you can see its category is an AI recipient unit, airbase or carrier, and it's ATC, Akrotiri. So the reason nothing's defined in the database yet is because I haven't joined a mission, I haven't imported the command for Moose Airboss. So we've got a whole bunch of them here. So Airboss training pattern's a good one, which puts you into the bolter pattern, so on the deck, so you can just practice returns and trapping. You can see it's got 3 aliases in there, declaring an emergency, Airboss emergency landing, or Airboss training pattern. So that all has no category or segment. So what we'll do is we'll jump in the cockpit now and have a look at when we jump into a mission, and we'll make it a multiplayer one with Moose Airboss running, and we'll have a look at how you use it, and we'll more importantly have a look what happens behind the scenes in Viacom. All right, here we are in the cockpit, and let's have a look at what we're talking about. So what I might do is just pop up the UIs for Viacom Pro and Voice Attack, and what you can see there now is Voice Attack has a whole bunch of F10 menu imports happening, and they happen dynamically. So if I press the PTT, it will and it also just repopulates the F10 map. So it does another scan, has a look, and adds any more to the database. And if you look at the Viacom side of things, you can see now if I go to the editor tab, these declare an emergency or Airboss emergency landing, Airboss training pattern, that are the ones that are added in to control Airboss. They've now been populated with the category, which is imported F10 menu items, because Viacom can see them now. And the segment is Ox Action Emergency Landing, which is what it's normally called. We can just use Airboss training pattern. They're already in the keywords database, and there's no need to do the finish step. Alright, so let's hide those again, and let's get out and have a go. So we'll taxi out to Cat 4, and we'll have a look at some of the functions that we can use. So on Com1 Channel 8 I've got LSO, Com2 11 I've got Marshall, so let's do a radio check with them. LSO comms check.
Paddles radio check.
And let's do Marshall. Another comms check.
Marshall radio check.
And there we go. The carrier is already recovering, but we could request that with the skipper. We can request start case 1 or start case 2, start case 3. So let's do case 1. Skipper start case 1. Skipper start case 1.
511 negative.
Yeah, ship's already recovering. And let's quickly just set the deck crew again to using the normal Viacom command, ready for departure. And that will reset them back to the launch phase. We'll drop back to channel 11 on Com2 to mother. And we could take off and fly out 20 miles and come back and use the command inbound mother request Marshall and go into the Marshall stack and do all that sort of stuff. But in the interest of brevity and having some fun, let's just join the training pattern. So let's use Airboss training pattern.
511 roger.
Okay, we're in the boulder pattern now. Wings out. So it'll just be a takeoff, left turn, climb to 600 feet, head on the 180, on the 90, and then extend the launch bar and then make an approach and see how we go. A little bit gloomy today, so the deck's going to be hard to pick up. It should be lit, but DCS doesn't do that if it's gloomy. They turn the carrier lights on though, which is great, but no deck lights. Alright. Launch bar's up. And trim's a little higher, there's 15 on the trim. Alright, away we go. Salute, and off we go. Gears coming up and coming out of the burner. We're pretty low on fuel, we're 3,300 pounds. So we'll start our turn in, and I'm going to take the hook now. It's our 600 feet coming up. Get the turn going. Back of the carrier. And gear back down. And flaps to full. And the next call should be from the LSO.
Paddles, contact.
There it is. Looking at the back of the deck, start our turn in. And we've got the ILS and TACAN on. And it's handy to have the ILS up when it's glooming like this because it's hard to see the deck for the lineup. Try and not let it settle here. Gonna overshoot. It's annoying.
Call the ball. Roger, ball.
Not a great approach, but you get the idea. And 3-wire.
Welcome aboard.
4.0. So we overshot, as I said. A little low, lined up right, drifting left in the middle, and then low, drifting right in close, 3-wire. So as I said, not an awesome approach, but still got a 4.0. I think that's a bit generous, but there we go. So there's how to use the new Airboss Moose or Moose Airboss keywords with Viacom, and as you can see, it's way more immersive, a lot better than having to use menus and mess around importing keywords on the fly and bits and pieces. I've wanted to do this for ages, and I am happy that we've finally got it into Vaicom. Anyway, thanks for watching.